Hi everybody and welcome. I'm going to give you some tuning notes to check your guitar to if you want to play along on some of these slowed down examples. So first of all, your E, D, check those again in case you're playing with a floating bridge. The whole thing will move if you're way out. So if you're way out, just kind of get it close and then refine it. D. Check it against an open G chord. I asked for inquiries about what I should talk about. In response to some of those, I'm going to go over a little bit of my equipment stuff. This is basically the rig I use on stage. This is my main axe, Ernie Ball Music Man. Steve Morse model, oddly enough. Let's see, there's 4 pickups on it, 2 humbuckers, 2 single coils for getting warm sound, more mid-rangey, single coil, and combination. These switches are just for changing pickups. In the preference, it seems logical to me. I plug directly into a AB box for the tuner, so I can tune without making any noise. It's good during a drum fill or something. I can switch off the guitar and look down here, and I have a little tuner that lights up in the dark too. That's important to have. There's also a booster, a TC booster / distortion, which I use from time to time, actually very occasionally, because it loads up the front end of the sound quite a bit. But like on the intro of Too Many Notes, before the band comes in, I'll use it because it adds some bass to the sound. Okay, the pedals are all over the place. In order, I'll explain what each one does. First one is long delay. The long delay is always being fed by the guitar and is always coming out of the delay. It's just being stopped by the volume pedal before the guitar goes into the amp. I have 2 amps. Main amp, it's this what we call the dry sound, and then the second amp, which is the effects return, or the wet sound. The dry amp is always on. That's the one I'm always playing through. And basically that never goes away unless I turn the volume off, in which case there's no volume for any of the effects. So the dry amp's always on, and the delays return to a second amp called the wet amp or effects amp or whatever. So you have the dry all the time, and when I add the delay or push down on delay pedal, I get the wet sound added to it. That doesn't change the dry sound at all when I add it. It just adds to it. And that's handy for things like this. The next pedal is kind of a short delay. In fact, it's so short that you probably can't hear the amount of delay. Somewhere on the order of 15, 16 milliseconds. Just enough to allow me to give a little modulation to it. You can probably hear the modulation if I play some harmonics that stay on pitch. I'm adding it in. You can hear it modulate or beat a little bit. Here's without it. Here's with it. It's like that. Like a fish swimming in the water. Anyway, that gives some air to the sound, and it's kind of a real subtle chorus. So when you're playing clean things like here's without it. Here's with it. Put the two together, the short delay and the long delay, and you get what kind of a nice airy sound. It's good for harmonics and things. Anytime you want something to ring, you generally want some kind of delay or reverb associated with it. Again, none of these pedals are guitar volume. They're just effects volume. next on the list is the synthesizer pedal. It's just a volume control that's in stereo. There's two volume pots ganged together. The two volume pots work together. They're in parallel. So you can put two things in or flip a switch and have a pan pedal. I use it as a basically a stereo volume pedal. It acts just like a regular volume pedal, only 2 ins and 2 outs. So my synth, which is basically like playing a keyboard, so I can fade it in when I'm playing guitar. Almost always I use it underneath the guitar. That is, the guitar is always playing. And then I add the synth. Something like that. One other switch I've got here is a preamp gain for the main amplifier head. When I press it, it doesn't change the tone, it just adds a little bit more voltage. I'm going to change from a smooth sound to a distorted sound, changing the volume of the guitar, the pickups, and the amount of delay that I'm using. Basically, there is no tone change on the amp whatsoever, other than the amount of gain that I'm giving it. At the end, I was using the long delay when I played single note stuff up high and a warmer pickup to give more of a vocal or singing sound. Then I got two other pedals for doing a kind of a sound-on-sound thing. One gives me a electronic gate signal. I think it's about 5 volts. And it's such high voltage that it makes an audible click through the amplifier. I took advantage of that by plugging it into a volume pedal so I can bring it in and bring it out when I want. And on this delay, the Lexicon delay, you can chop up the loop into 8 segments, 64, 32, whatever you want to do. And what it basically gives you is a tempo. So with that tempo, now that'll keep going, so I can play